Hello viewers, wherever you might be getting our signals from. This is Sports Tonight on iAfrica TV. We are live operating from the Gambia, West Africa, located in Willingara, West Coast region. And to welcome you wherever you might be on our Sports Tonight. With me here, I have very important guests in the studio here. Last week we had two of them who were obviously in the panel, and today we had another important guest in the studio. But first of all, as the custom goes, we will obviously let them introduce themselves. Starting with the man on my immediate right. Hello, gentlemen, and good evening, and welcome to Sports Tonight on iAfrica TV.
Thank you very much, my brother Sergio. It's a pleasure to be around, and we actually want to thank our listeners and those who are viewing us all the time.
Next on my immediate left, good evening, sir, and welcome to Sports Tonight on iAfrica TV.
Thank you, Sergio, and good evening, everybody. We're here to talk about sports, and we hope we'll be able to give a good account of ourselves tonight.
Indeed, and on my far right, left, sorry.
Thank you very much, Sergio, for welcoming us again to iAfrica Online TV. It's good to be on this platform because sports is what we love talking about.
There you have it. Obviously today we had a whole lot of bunch of things to talk about sports, but we have to restrict ourselves due to the time limit here on iAfrica TV, because as you already know, time is what governs everything, especially the media. And then last week we even talked about the WAFU tournament, obviously, and then I think this is the right time that we should dilate more on that issue, as already the Gambia, who couldn't make the finals of the WAFU due to some issues, which I think all of you are aware of. And but first of all, we welcome Mr. Essa Jallow, who was the spokesperson of Team Malik ahead of the GFF presidential election. But before we go into the WAFU tournament, Mr. Essa Jallow, I would really want to ask you this question, because over and over, I think I have tried to get you, I couldn't. But today, I would say you were the spokesperson of Team Malik ahead of the GFF presidential election. But certain point in the race, you announced your withdrawal of this Team Malik from the GFF presidential elections. To the betrayals of people who had expected so much from you. And you as the spokesperson, would you tell the people what led to the withdrawal of the Team Malik?
Thank you so much. It's like it's been a century since that had happened. But anyway, I wouldn't call it a betrayal. If anybody felt betrayed, then perhaps the person actually wasn't following what we were trying to do. We withdrew simply because we don't believe in the system. And if you don't believe in a system, there's no point in you getting around. That means you're giving it, you're all correct. You see, we have been criticizing the system from day one. And then for us to turn around and participate in that system, that means we are endorsing it. And this was why we withdrew, because we knew that what had happened to us in terms of our disqualifications, and then from there then our appeals, how that went through, and how the minister intervened and flouted all the rules. So we can't continue in that kind of a situation.
You mean the new minister?
The new minister. The new minister intervened, and then he did some terrible things. We have to say that, because he intervened. At first he called us for a meeting. We are thinking that he was going to call us alone, after us realizing that there was a whole bunch of other people there, and what he was trying to do for us to negotiate. And then the negotiation was not in line with the rules and regulations. You see, when you are participating in something that is governed by rules and regulations, you have to follow those rules and regulations. You see, at the time, what he was saying was like, for our suspicion to be, for them to allow us to participate, then the Sports Council also has to lift the kind of suspension that was put on here. These are two completely different things. We were not the Sports Council, and the Sports Council is not us. So what the Sports Council has been doing had nothing to do with us. And what we have been complaining about had nothing to do with the Sports Council. So that is not, so we realized that that was what he wanted to do, and that was breaking the rules. So in the end, what he did was to intervene and lift the suspension on the official. But also by the, imagine that something had happened within the FF and the minister came and suspended those officials. What would have happened? There's going to be chaos. So it's the same thing. If he lifts the suspension that he didn't impose, then that means he's also equally flouting the rules. So the minister doesn't know what he's doing. I don't understand why he...
In short, you are saying the minister was fed?
No, I'm not saying he's
fed.
I don't know what had happened to him.
Okay.
But I'm going to judge him by his decision. It doesn't matter who told him, whether he did it on his own or somebody told him to do that. What I'm trying to say is he doesn't know what he is doing, and he has set a dangerous precedence. You know, because in the first place, you have disregarded your own organ, the sports council, that had how to call it, imposed those sanctions on the FF officials. What he would have done is perhaps to make the sports council to lift that. But what he did is he actually ordered the executive secretary to lift that. That is not from the council, because the council are supposed to be representatives who meet and then make that decision. So you see, he's made that error. And secondly, there are so many things that we were complaining about. He never listened to us. When we wrote to him, he never listened to us. But because for whatever reason he thinks, then he decided to do that. For us, that's not our problem. He is going to, he's going to be judged by his actions. So that has not been. But what we are trying to say is he didn't know what he was doing, whether he did it deliberately or by ignorance. I don't know.
Mr. Kebe, you mentioned about the...
I'm not Kebe.
Oh, sorry. Because I had a question for you that is related to Kebe. This is what I'm doing. Okay. But Issa, let me tell you one thing. You said you withdrew simply because of the minister's act or what he has done. Or
no, not what the minister had done.
No. Because he lifted up the sanction from...
Yes.
And then you feel that there was foul play in the system. You don't trust in the system.
Yes, but
this is why
we didn't withdraw because the minister lifted the sanction.
Okay, you withdrew because you didn't believe on the system. You didn't have trust on the system.
The system is not correct. It's not about...
Fine.
Yes.
Fine.
Yes.
You did it on your own accord. And now the people who were rallying behind you, you didn't even consider those people. How about if we have to withdraw from these elections? How are those people going to feel? Are they going to feel betrayed or what? Did people consider that?
No, if they felt betrayed, then it's unfortunate, but they shouldn't be. If at all they were supporting us based on facts, not just based on sentiments, then they should actually sympathize with us, because what we are trying to do, we were complaining about a system that is incorrect. So if we turn around and follow that same system, what are they going to think of us? Because this thing is not about who you know or who you support or who you think you are affiliated to. You see, when we are talking to people, we are talking to them about rules and regulations, about things that we think is wrong. Sure. We cannot turn around and do those same wrong things. So you see, this is why we withdraw. So if they feel or if they felt betrayed about that, that is unfortunate. That
so why did it take you so long until the 11th hour before you announced your resignation or your withdrawal from the elections?
Before, that is the right time to do it, because we have to sit down as a team. We have to sit down and then think what we would do the next step. Anytime something is happening, we look at our next step. But it doesn't matter whether we did it on the day of the Congress or we did it 10 days before. It doesn't matter. What matters is why did we withdraw? And it is based on principle. It's not based on any sentiments. Because we have said from the beginning that the system is not correct. What we have been done. How am I going to express this? We have felt that we are not treated fairly, or they have not been following the rules as we think. Then we shouldn't continue. See, that's the thing. But if people felt that we betrayed them, that's very unfortunate. But I don't think that's right.
Okay, Mr. Jallow, I would have to come back to you. Sang, you were following this proceeding since day one, how things were unfolding between the Team Kaba and Team Malik, the going to court, the end of results, and until the last day of the elections, we are following it. But hearing what Issa Jallow has just said, what do you make of it?
Well, I think they are justified. If you don't trust in the system, don't play by the rules. Don't get into the game. And I supported it. I appreciate it. The fact that I don't trust in an electoral system, I would not participate. What time it comes, I might give people the benefit of the doubt to prove that, come on board. We are worthy people to be trusted. But in the 11th hour, if I see that these are not people I trust, I can just withdraw, because I don't want to go in and sign up to something that will haunt me tomorrow. And that is what they did. So I accepted it and respected it.
Mr. Mende Vicente, Mr. Gomez, Issa said they didn't betray the loyal followers who were rallying behind them to make sure that the Kaba regime is being impeached.
Well, he said it, and I am not the one to come and say no or dispute what he has said. All said and done, you look at yourself, there are rules governing sports administration.
Sure.
And as he said, well, as far as I know, you must follow the ladder. It starts with the athlete. It's the athletes who would express interest and they come together and form a club. And when they get a club now, they get a management in that club. So the club now would participate in a tournament. And that tournament could be maybe at the village level. You move from the village level, you go to the district to the region, national. You understand what I mean? So at the end of the day, every level would have its own rules. At the level of the council, that is the ministry, ministry is at the policy level. It has other organs or arms. And if you have an arm or an organ, just like the arms of government, the legislature cannot dictate what the judiciary does. And the judiciary cannot actually maybe dictate what the executive does. Each one of them, there is that separation of powers. So if you ask me, if the Sports Council is responsible for all sports associations, all, a rule for one is a rule for all. And no single association should be given preference over others. Whatever it is, we hope that sanity will prevail in our sports. And it's unfortunate that sometimes you will notice that we look at individuals instead of institutions. Because you are the head here, somebody will give you respect. When you are away and I'm in, the person does not give me respect. But it's not about you or me, it's about the institution.
Hearing what Issa Jallow just said, you were one time the Secretary General of the National Sports Council. Who is weak here? Is it this National Sports Council who is weak in decision making, or is the sport minister who is just emphasizing his position over the Sport Council and then trying to just look low upon them when they did the sanction on the GFF?
I think whoever actually has the Sports Council Act would know already the verdict well before actually even you talk about it. I don't need to go further. I just told you. All sports associations are registered under the council, and the council has the final say in the decision of every sports association. And as far as I'm concerned, unless we don't go by that rule for one, being the rule for all, then it's something else. I don't know, and I stand to be corrected since I left there, whether the GFF is completely out of the organizations or associations registered under Sports Council and managed by the ministry. But if it is managed by the Sports Council, I trust that the Sports Council should decide on whatever comes out of any sports association and not the ministry. The ministry is at the level of policy, and the Sports Council is at the level of regulation and, of course, implementation of certain decisions here and there. But as he said, the executive secretary is just like a secretary. Sure. You have no right. You are actually dictated by the council members. And the decisions of the council, you just implement. You just convey. You just carry out. But you don't just go and you maybe consult the chairman, or you only go and meet the minister. You don't even meet the minister. It is your chairman who meets with the minister. And you are just there to act. So whichever way, all we are saying is I think governance issues are key in our sports administration. And unless we try to look at certain loopholes here and there, and people trying to remove themselves out of institutions, we will have problems.
Thank you, Mr. Gomez, for that piece. Okay, Mr. Issa Jallow, we go straight into business, which is the WAFU tournament. Obviously, the Gambian contingent left this the source of this country for a better competition in Dakar in the WAFU championship. But things didn't turn out well for the home team, that is the Gambian under-17 team that left here. So it had a huge number of players, about 7 of the players were disqualified on the MRI test. I think similar situation, which we will conclude as a cheating. I think similarly we had an issue of that when Kebe was in power, and then a similar situation also arise, and then Kebe had to be moved out from power.
Yes. You see, let me tell you something. You see, in the Gambia, as long as we don't look at each other in the eye and tell each other the truth, we will never go forward. Let me just go back a little bit back to talk about this incident that happened between the Sports Council and the ministry. You see, it is a deeper problem that you people think. You see, every ministry, there are supposed to be civil servants who are supposed to be the technocrats who are supposed to advise the minister, to tell the minister, this is what you can and this is what you can't do. So all of those people failed. Do you understand? So if the minister flouts a rule, you see, the Sports Council is not just an organization. This was set up by an act of parliament. You have gone against that. The Sports Council was asked to do a job by a parliamentary committee. So he has gone against that. So that is how serious it is. I don't know whether he knows about that. If he doesn't know, he doesn't need to be a minister. You see, this is why the president needs to look at people who actually deserve to be in that position. And I don't think President Barrow did the right thing in putting that guy there. I'll have to say this. Sure. Now let's move forward. Sure. The under-17 thing. If you check the under-17 thing, the GFF knew that they were flouting the rules. You know why? Why did they have to do their own tests? You see, we know our kids here. If you look at the number of players that they have registered, only 2 are not playing in the first and second division. You think a 17-year-old will play in the first division or second division? No. Tell me. No. So they know exactly what they are doing, because they know the machine can either say yes or no. It cannot tell you exactly. But what it is certain, if it says you are over, it is right. You will never be under 17 and the machine makes a mistake and say you are over 17. That will never happen. And we know the people that we are putting in those things. They did one for themselves. They had 6 failures. They never announced it, did they? No. They didn't announce it. And then they went back. All they were saying that they blamed the Secretary General of WAFU. He didn't inform of this. He has nothing to do with that. The point is the machine says that 7 of your boys are men. That is the problem. So they need to address that. So you see, when the problem happens with the Kebe administration, as you just said,
do you look at these kids? Are you seeing them?
These are not kids. I know, because I know where I work. There's an academy there. I know who kids are. I have a 15-year-old. You see, so I am not a kid, and I know. You see, if you see kids, you know them. I will tell you one thing. I'll tell you a story. There was one time I accompanied the under-17 team on a friendly in Senegal. I was there with Moses, and then we were sitting in the stands. And there was a Senegalese guy who sat next to us. And he looked at them, he said to us in Wolof, you know why? At that time, Tubabo was playing on the under-17. He hit the ball outside the penalty area and he hit the bar. It went over. He said, Guna Dumelni. He said because he's a teacher. Sure. You see, let us not be fooling ourselves. You know this is happening. Sure. You see, the point is we have to tell our football amateurs the truth. What we need to do is to empower the people who are nurturing the children. We put those children into football. You see, it doesn't matter when you go and lose 10-0. If a scout is there, he doesn't care what the result is. What he cares about is say, this number 7 is good, this number 3 is good. And if he is developed, then the whole country develops. You see, we don't have to look at a shortcut, the short-term benefit. We bring in men, they play against boys, we win, and then we all celebrate. That isn't the right thing. And now let me go back to this thing. What had happened with the Kebe thing was just a mere circular that caused that whole panic. And we know what had happened when the police investigated. And that was the downfall of that whole administration. Now we have 7 players that were over 8. And nobody said a word. Nobody. Because officially, because that is serious. You know why? Yes. Because let me tell you, those kids have obtained documents that are saying that they are under 17. That is fraud. So I am expecting the immigration officers to come and ask them, how did these people get these passports? The immigration is not saying anything. You see, this is the problem that we have. The police are keeping quiet because the police will only move when they are asked to do something. Police are supposed to move in when they see something is wrong. The police cannot just go and investigate, oh no, it's not a problem, it's the problem of the GRA. That doesn't happen anywhere in the world. If the Inspector General of Police listen to me, this is the job of the police. The police need to come in and they need to step into these kind of shoes and tell people that a fraud has been committed and we are going to do this thing, that thing has to be. This is what we need to do as a nation.
Mr. Jallow, we pause it there for a minute. Sam, can you come in here? With the current situation, you know, when things get wrong, they had to fly both Ibufai and Malik, Martin Gomez to Dakar to redeem the situation, which never produced any results.
Well, if it's a waste of resources as far as I'm concerned, because that was a done deal. There was no way that, you know, Ibufai and Martin were going to turn down the decision of WAFU, you know, carved through WAFU, of course. So it was just a waste of resources. And resources is what we cry for, you know. So why would you fly these people? Were they invited by CAF? Were they invited by WAFU? For what? To do what? You know. So Essa said a lot of things that need to be looked at. You see, in this country, if you speak the truth, you are seen as an enemy of the state.
Exactly.
And this must be stopped for us to move on as a country. Politically, at governance level, even when our officials, you know, did something wrong, and you write it on your social media handle, you are attacked by a lot of people, left, right, center, just because you are pointing out that this is wrong and shouldn't be done. If we continue like this, we're only going to leave our country in shambles. And this is what is happening in sports. You and I know that, you know, even our colleagues, you stand up to speak the truth. Some of our colleagues will sit out there and be labeling you with all kind of names. So, and this is what should be stopped. It starts with us, the journalists, you know, holding people accountable. So the people, at least the ones that are willing to speak the truth, will come out and speak the truth, and then we uphold the truth. So long as we are ready to uphold the truth, probably we'll move things. But if we are not willing to do this, we aren't going to go anywhere. And as I said, that the police should move on. That is definitely true.
Yes.
Come on, you cannot see wrong things happening, people actually doing dubious things in the country, and you're waiting to say that there is a rightful authority that should take the lead in this. You know, for example, the fraud case, you know, the tax evasion problem, you know, this age cheating problem. Come on, there's a lot of things that could be done on this, but all of us are responsible. Saja, you and I know that these boys in there, these men, like as I said, they're overage. But did you talk about it anywhere?
No.
I didn't talk about it anywhere. Vicente and Essa have never spoken about it anywhere. Probably simply because if they talk about it, they will be seen to be anti-system. And this is why we are all keeping quiet. And it's killing our sports.
Vicente, do you think then the Gambian team is very lucky to have participated in this WAFU tournament, even though they were tested MRI before the game?
Don't call it luck. To be honest with you, just as Sang said, this issue of age cheating did not start today. And just as Sang said, we are all complicit in this. But let's put it this way. You see, we talk about corruption and we only look at it from the level of finance, financial corruption, embezzlement, mismanagement. We are forgetting that these small things we do are all part of corruption. Corruption includes the corrupt, the corruptible, and the corrupted. You see, we are making a mistake, and this is the problem. Tell me, the players that are playing here are from families. Now, if they are under 17, if you ask me, legally, those people cannot sign any contract. Their parent must do it on their behalf. Now, did any of those players have any of their documents signed by the parents? If yes, we need to say that. That is where the whole investigation should start. Number two, these players are from clubs. Now, for you to be in the club, you must have a form to register and put in your details. Can we go and check their files to see whether what they put in their initial whatever registration form is the same thing that was actually transferred in the database for them to get passports to go and play? You see, with all due respect, we are just killing our young ones very early. Why do I say we are killing them very early? In the Gambia, players don't play competitively until they are maybe after 20 years. I am saying this and I want to be challenged anywhere. What do I mean by until after 20 years? You only finish grade 12 before you start playing competitive football. Whilst in the school system, you only play Nawetan. And our Nawetans, if you look at them, the nature of our Nawetans, we don't have age-based category Nawetans. And that is where we should start. If we really are serious about football or sports, let's go back to age-based categories. So that all the Nawetans, all the hype, all the noise, we say Nawetans are actually going to be breeding grounds. Let's say going forward, all our Nawetans should only include players from the ages of maybe 15 to 20. Otherwise, You will see people like Vicente, who is 40 or so, playing.
But all hands,
some will be playing. No, all hands is playing for health reasons. The young ones are playing for wealth, because sports should be a means and a source of employment, wealth creation, and also to be able to bring foreign, how do I call it, foreign exchange. So with all due respect, I think we are making mistakes, and I believe we should stop it now. This is not only fraudulent, it is also corrupt. Somebody somewhere knows that what is happening is not right, but they are still allowing the status quo to continue. Yeah. Business as usual. We call it New Gambia with old practices. I would have expected this to be a thing of the past.
So, Vicente, do you think GFF sent in Martin Gomez and Ibu Fai to cover up their
Martin and and Ibu Fai might have gone there on a different assignment. If this issue was one, they would have been back by now, I suppose. Because I think they are still there.
They went purposely to redeem the situation.
Are they still not there?
They are.
So, if it were redeeming the situation, and up to now they cannot redeem the situation, then then the situation is beyond redemption. And with all due respect, as I said, to be honest, the police, the IG, please, if you are watching us or your people are watching us, we want to make sure that we don't only investigate financial corruption or mismanagement. Let's go into human resource, corruption or mismanagement, because fraud is fraud. If I use false certificates to get employment, it's a crime. And that same false certificate has to do with age cheating. If I reduce my age to enter the civil service, and maybe I am to retire since 5 years ago and I am still not retired, I am blocking somebody's space who should come to the civil service. I am also cheating the government, so which is a crime. So we should make sure that those things that are offensive, documents to get employment.
To go to the university.
Exactly. All those are fraudulent practices, and those are corrupt practices.
Issa Jallow, here you come again. What do you think should happen to the GFF? What should happen to these officials? Hence, they knew that they were sending in the wrong people to the wrong competition, and then tarnishing the image of the Gambia likewise, because Gambia will be labeled as cheating in age down at the WAFU tournament. What do you think should be happening to the officials?
You see, if they have conscience, they will resign. If they don't, people should get up and say, you people are not supposed to be who supposed to run our football, because you people are fraudulent. You see, you have misled the whole country. You took men telling people that these are boys, and you were caught red-handed. Now the boys were also playing. You complain about dim light or whatever just because you wanted to shield yourself from something. They should go. That is the thing. But for me, if I am to say this thing, and I have been part of a system that was trying to remove them, they'll say, oh, because I wanted to be there. This is why I don't come to that. But if they had any conscience or any shame, they would just move. Because you know why? You see, this is going to continue. They will keep on burying their tracks as they go. And then we will find out. We'll get to find out. You know, because somebody even told me that someone within their own system actually told them some of these boys are big boys, don't take them. And they didn't pay heed to that. And they went ahead and do these things. You see, things that people don't even realize. You see, even when we had gone up to the election time, up to into the hall, we could have said, no, it isn't going to go. You know why? Because these people went ahead and did some amendments in the constitution, but they didn't do that in the right way. You see, anything that you amend in your constitution, that thing has to be registered with the sports council, and that has to be there. All of those things haven't been done. So we were not even ready with these people. We didn't even start to talk to people who to vote for us. Only the natural followers are following us. We didn't go to put all these things in front of the people. Okay. You see, so what we are telling you, it is a system that has been developing, and it is time for us to tell each other the truth. That if we don't do the right things, we will never go forward. That is going to be the point. If we don't do the right things, we will never go forward. You see, playing big boys in place of young boys, what you are trying to do is just the same as the retirement thing. You are blocking the boy. Yes. The boy who is supposed to be seen by a scout will never be seen. Exactly. The time he is going to play for him to have a chance for the scout, he is also late. So that is the problem. In the end, we are going to have problems with players, with our senior national team. Look at it. All most of our players who realize who are even playing with good teams, most of them did most of their young times abroad, but not those who are coming out from here. You see, and even those who are coming out from here, you realize that people who had worked earlier to nurture young children. There are people who started working on academies a long time ago. That's not now. And those things are paying dividend bit by bit, but people are not realizing these things. But what we are seeing, there are certain people in football, even if you start grooming your own, they'll just bring a Saddam bag of rice and they'll bring some to your parents and they take him to the first division, second division. And in the end, that child will either have an injury or would never play, come back. The whole career this is what we have in our system. So we need to cleanse our system. We as journalists, as Sang said, we had been quiet about this because you see, sometimes when I want to say something, I'm worried that I offend somebody that I know or somebody who had one time given me money, because our industry, we don't pay each other well. So that also is something that is holding us back. But you see, we can always hold our integrity. You see, it takes a long time to build integrity, to have respect, but it will take a second for that to go. You see, I always take myself as an example. I didn't say nobody ever gave me anything, but nobody had ever given me something for me to do something that is wrong. Anything that I cannot defend in secret between you and I will never come out. And this is why I can stand in front of them and I can tell them whatever I want to say. But if they had given you something and you did the wrong thing, they will not respect you, because if you talk, they'll tell you, look at him. That's what they're going to say. And this is what I always speak to our young people. You see, for us, maybe it is gone, but we have a lot of young people coming. We have institutions that are grooming people. But for me, what I always tell the young people is preserve your integrity. If you have that, that is the best thing you can always have.
So in a nutshell here, if GFF should have unique integrity in within themselves, they shouldn't have wait for people to tell them resign.
Exactly.
They should just leave office
they should
as
just leave,
what they did to Kebe.
Exactly. No, they didn't do that to Kebe. It's not them. It was another system that brought that thing. You see, but we know how it all went.
Exactly.
You know, at the time, we don't need to go back to all of that. What we know is the police didn't do their job, because you know why? They conducted an investigation. They concluded it. They submitted it to the office of the president. The office of the president wrote to them and told them they can go ahead and do this thing. They just dropped it. They just dropped it. They just forgot about there's a letter. If you want, I don't have time here. I can show you a copy of that letter, which told them to go ahead and do it. But because somebody at the Attorney General's chamber who is still there, he decided to sit on it. You see, this is the problem, because you have a friend who has a friend. The same thing happened at the GRA. We know what had happened. We know who was trying to say, oh no, it is not about sentiments. We know all of those things. We don't need to mention names. But you see what they are trying to do to us? They do those things. We look at them. Anytime they come out, oh, this guy isn't the right person to be there.
Sang, with issues surrounding our football, such issues like this, where do you think is leading our football to? And especially the future of the younger generation coming there after us?
Well, I've said it. Our football is going to the doldrums, and that is where we belong. You see, I keep saying this, that it's going to take us extra 15 or 20 years to get to the African Cup of Nations. Even though the number is increased, even if we get there now, we are just getting there by chance, and that is not by proper planning. If we continue to use overage players for junior competitions, we are only spoiling these players. We are denying them the opportunities to play professional football for a longer period. I said it the last time here, that if you take a 17-year-old and a 27-year-old and give him under 13 or 14 years, because normally if you are registering under 17, you don't give them 17 years. Only a few of them will be 16 and below. Majority of them will be 15 and 14.
Yes.
You know, for example, the coordinator for women football, when she was going to the World Cup, come on, she was the youngest, and she was 14. So today she is the coordinator of women football. 19 years old today, or 20 years old today. Come on, are we serious? Are we real to ourselves? If you take a 27-year-old or a 23-year-old and give him 14 or 13, you've reduced 10 years or 9 years from his original age. Now, he goes to a club in Europe, and the club believes, oh no, you are 14, we are not going to go into that labor problems. You know, we are taking you to a youth team, and they take you to a youth team. You might spend 3-4 years. 3 plus 24, that's 27. You pick up your career. Before you come to the first team, the B team, before you come to the B team, you must be 17, 18 and above. You know, you come to this B team, before you break into the first team, you are already 33 or 32. That is when your career begins to dwindle. So I think all club owners must be honest. The players must be honest. Their parents must be honest. But they must be made to understand all these implications involved. If we don't do that, we will send people under 17 to under 20, under 20 to under 23. Before they actually break into the national team, they are already 33 years old. And 33-year-old cannot actually play with 27-year-old, and you want to beat them up because they have more stamina, they have more strength, they have more willpower to push.
Mr. Gomez,
Yes.
I was even thinking, I was even saying the problem is with the WAFU organizers. That I was about to tell Gambians so that we reconsider our participation in this WAFU tournament.
Look, let's face it. Just to take on from where Sang stopped. Under 17, if you ask me, age 7, you should be maybe in grade 1. Under 17, you should be in grade 10. Now, if you've already finished school and your age has been doctored and you are under 17, mind you, your school certificate becomes useless. And football is such that you cannot play competitively for more than 10 years now. Now, you would have risked your life because you want to play for the under 17. And mind you, you may not be the choice for other under 17s or under 20 or under 23 teams. So you may only play one tournament after doctoring your age, and that's the end of your career. What next? You cannot use your school certificate anymore because your age, right, on paper when you were playing is different from what is on your certificate. Your life is ruined forever. The sports administrator would not care. Their interest is in getting you play for the under 17 or under 20 or under 23. So players, I am talking to you. Please, your life is more important. Your life is more important than your current maybe profession. People can change professions. Sure. From a player, you can become maybe an academician or a doctor or a nurse. But if you fool yourself and you doctor your age and your certificate is lying there useless, you would have wasted 12 good years of your schooling just because of that tournament which you participated in by doctoring your age. It's my appeal. I'm talking to you as a brother with all due respect. If they ever want to doctor your age because you're a good player, tell them sorry. Don't put me on the under 17, don't put me on the under 20. I'm talking to them. They would know because a lot of them will end up becoming what? Apprentice. What we call, how do you call it? A driver attendant. Or they may end up actually on the street as guards, security guards. We've seen them. And it saddens me to see a player who is a very good player and had played for this country just ending up on the street or even begging you, boy, Nakala, boy, Dorot, Malik, you would. I feel so bad. And I'm telling you this, football is a career. Take it seriously, but don't drop your academic papers. They are more important than that ball. All of us played football. Look at me. Today, I can tell people that yes, I might not have gone up to that level of being a professional player. I have my own papers, and I can still play football. But if you drop your academic papers, my brother, the day you will not be able to kick that ball, you will end up being a street beggar. And that will be the saddest part of your life. That's my appeal to you, I'm telling you.
Thank you, Mr. Gomez.
Let me comment a bit here.
Okay.
You see, the bigger picture here is the government. You see, the youth constitute a large percentage of our population.
Sure.
Now, and they are the people who are playing football. You see, if you make football to beneficial to the youth, you are directly helping them in employment. You see, it doesn't matter whether you play for the national team or not, but once you are gainfully playing, even in Guinea-Conakry, and you are being paid, that is something for your family and it is something for yourself. You see, this is what you need to look at. So the national team, when they win, whatever prize money they give you, in particular with this big team, that money, it is not shared between the players. It's pride. You see, national teams only bring pride, but it is your career that is going to bring economic benefit to you and to the country and people around you. You make your people rich and you make people around you rich. You see, this is the thing. You see, government should look at now what the backway syndrome that we had here. The majority of them were players. You know, in Brikama there were teams that were gone down because the majority of the players.
In Banjul, I saw a team from coach
exactly
to the kid manager always.
That is it. They didn't go because they just want to go and risk their life or they want to do something. You think if our league is beneficial that they can take something home, they will go? They will not go. But because look at, even playing in our league is not beneficial. You go in there, even if you are injured, to have medication is a problem. You see, this is what we need to, so long as we don't make football like a business. We nurture our children the right way, and we make sure the clubs follow rules and regulations, and we make them follow it. That is the job of the government, to make sure that people who do wrong are made to pay for that. You see, so if the government didn't do that, why would, for example, the Minister of Youth and Sports sit there and the Sports Council suspend the weightlifting thing? Nobody says anything. They suspend football and everybody shout, oh, FIFA is going to do this, as if FIFA is our government. You see, these are the things that we need to remove. And I was told that they said to the president, oh, and the president said, okay, you know, let's just make sure FIFA doesn't ban us. And then what? Who have ever seen FIFA ban a country for more than 1 month, for even a month? It never happened anywhere. You see, FIFA, it is in their interest for you to play football, because they'll tell Coca-Cola that football is being played in Gambia and you can drink Coca-Cola there. You see, this is the thing, and that is money that they are giving back to these countries. So it is all illusion. FIFA is going to ban us and we are not going to compete. What's the point in competing when you're not even winning in the first place? You go in there and you are humiliating yourself. So these are the things that we need to look at. These kids need to look at football as a profession.
Yes.
That is going to bring them something. There are players who played even in Casamas here and they made money. It doesn't matter, even if you don't play for the national team, but you are well off, you are doing something. You see, if you even play in the lower leagues in England, for example, the amount of money you're going to bring is going to be more than people who are running around working in other places. So that is how good it is. You see, look at some of these players who have played long time ago professional, they're still enjoying. You see, this is what they need to look at. So you are not playing just because for the sake of playing, you're playing to get something. And that is how we need to look at our sport.
Sanmende, when the nation is mourning for the disappointment in the WAFU tournament, another bombshell was dropped in the social media when the GFF put it on their page that they've set in an investigation committee to look onto the affairs of the overcrowded game between Algeria and Gambia. Many people responded in that piece of message or what they sent onto the social media or on their website, saying that they are setting an investigation to a committee, saying that it is all waste of money, waste of resources, or waste of time. But to your own case, how do you see this?
Waste of resources as far as I'm concerned, because first of all, when this happened, if you had in mind to have constitute a panel to investigate the issue, you should have called on a press conference and say, well, we are very concerned about this, and for that reason, we are setting up a commission to investigate what is the root cause of this. And the commission should not stay that long, because immediately this thing happened, where are the facts that you will use? Did they collect tickets from people? Did they actually arrest people who came with fake tickets and keep them? Because those are the people that will lead them to the real culprit. Because the real culprits are somewhere. To me, I think there is someone who copied, or some people actually copied the tickets. Some people actually standing at the gate maybe also did not do their job. That they collect these tickets from Essa, yourself, and Vicente. Instead of cutting the ticket and giving Essa, Vicente, and you half of the ticket to go with, they just allow you to go and pass back the tickets to someone else to sell. All these things are a possibility. But if you set up a panel, what are they going to investigate? Who are they going to interview? The people that were selling tickets? The GFF? Because the GFF convened a press conference and actually gave us a hint as to what they suspect that was the reason. So the GFF leadership will also be called to this panel to explain, to give an account of what made them make such a statement, because that will lead them, that will lead the panelists to investigate further. If not, it's a waste of resources.
You see, for me, I wouldn't call it a waste of resources. You see, people who are fond of cheating are not stupid people. This is a smoke screen. You see, they are constituting a commission or an investigation because they were scared that somebody is going to look into it. What is the police doing? There's something, a disaster about to happen, and the police are just sitting down there and they're watching. This is overcrowding. Why would you overcrowd a stadium? The police need to investigate. They have people there, they were there, the police can tell them. The police didn't do their job. So these people are worried that people like us will talk about these things, and before they, oh no, because let's just let them do their investigations before we say anything. It is just a small screen. It is not a waste of time. They are investing into covering their own track. So this is how I'm going to say it. You see,
that is a waste of resources.
I know it is a waste, but that is what they are doing to themselves, not to them. Now I'm just looking at the other side. Okay. You see, if you look at what had happened, we would have to thank the players. Imagine Algeria beat us 4-0. What would have happened? Yeah. So this is why that whole damage that was about to happen was averted by the players. And this is why we had to thank them. Indeed. That they went out there and played their hearts out and gave us a good game. And this is why, because the crowd was getting angrier and angrier, and you could realize that. Imagine something had happened. Imagine that Algeria didn't agree and they never played. What would have happened? So all of these things are supposed. So what is the police doing? The Inspector General, you know, I'll even call the PR and I'll ask him this question. You see, the reason why I'm constrained as a journalist to do these things, you know why? Because I participated in this trying to remove them. So anything I say, it is seen as no, not a journalist is siding out. But because my colleagues are not asking this question, I'll ask these questions. You see, the police need to get up and do the right thing. They need to investigate why did this happen. Is it somebody copied the thing? If it was copied, who copied it? How did he copy it? You know, who conspired with him? You know, because the police were there and the police were helpless.
There's conspiracy.
You see, so that is what they need to investigate. They shouldn't let these people give us a smoke screen. We are investigating. We have a lawyer here and there. It's all a smoke screen. They're just trying to cover their tracks.
Mr. Gomez, you bought your own ticket. You couldn't even enter the stadium. You watch it instead outside.
It wasn't me alone. I went with the family, and our tickets are still there. But anyway, what we're saying is, with all due respect, the challenge or onus now lies on the constituted panel. They are there to definitely show us that they are men of integrity and come out with an independent report that will fault everybody that was involved in that. We know it. So for me, I'm not commenting until the report is out and maybe made known to the public. That's number one. Number two, I've not seen any time frame given. When you constitute a panel, tell them we're giving you 2 weeks or 3 weeks to give us a report. I've not seen that, and I stand to be corrected. I would love to know how much time is given to them to report back to the FF or whatever it is. Another thing is, I would have expected by now that a report is sent to the ministry through the Sports Council explaining the circumstances leading to this. Maybe the Sports Council has received or have written to them. Those are administrative things, because we need to know. With all due respect, the country was at risk on that fateful day. Only God saved us. Something could have happened, and today you and I may not be talking here. Maybe you would have lost your life, or maybe one of my kids or family members would have gone, because I bought tickets for some kids I had sent earlier before I went. And I was worried about those kids. Honestly, I had to be calling them, and I told them, please leave the stadium and come. But they had no way to definitely come, because the pavement was also, so I was worried where I was before even I reached the stadium. But all we're saying is safety, security, and health of the citizenry, especially when it comes to matches like this, is a concern. The police should not wait until something happens before they act. Being proactive is more important than being reactive. And in Gambia, we are very good at reacting. Reacting. We do not proact. You got to read the situation before anything actually happens. And I am saying this, we pray that in our match against Togo, that we will not come again and start giving excuses. And it seems as if the best way for people to definitely more or less excuse themselves from taking decisions is to constitute a panel so that nobody will blame them. It's high time we did against with those things. Take a decision. If you know where the problem is, sanction somebody. Let us see that maybe Sang is faulted, and let it be public, so that tomorrow if Vicente is given the responsibility, he will bear in mind that, if I fail to deliver, they will do what they did to Sang to me. But if somebody, is wrong and then they did not bring it to the public, they just did them balkanize it, the Gambian way of Maslaha syndrome, we will never ever get things right. And unless we stop the Maslaha syndrome and definitely act accordingly and professionally, it will just be the same old thing of rigmarole. andu mandinkole ya fole meaning tafal so nyale kana laba.
Mr. Issa Jallow, time is on our heels and we need to wrap up. But in short, in as quick as possible, what do you think is next?
No, for me, I'll have to go back to the place. If you are driving your car, yes, that is supposed to take 4 people, and you put 6 people there, you get to the police, they'll arrest you. They'll say it's overloading. The Independence Stadium should ask the GFF, why did you know that we have such a number of seats and you overload? They should come.
Parliamentarians are quite worried with this.
Exactly. They should take action, not being worried. They should speak the truth. You see, some of these parliamentarians also don't know what they're doing. I have to say this thing, because I don't understand how can a select committee do something and then somebody else somewhere just write a letter just because somebody, you see, people need to tell each other the truth. The parliamentarians have problems. The independent stadium should ask the GFF, why did you overload our stadium when you know that this is the capacity, what had happened? They should also do that. The police should also comment, because or else this thing is going to continue. You see, it is going to continue. So we are not going to bury this thing on. The government needs to tell us. It's not about people shouting, oh, we need a bigger stadium. It's not the point. The point is, if you have something to carry a certain number of people, you should make sure that happens. And how do you make it? You have to make extreme measures. You know, if it is 20,000, you know you are going to give away some tickets. You don't print exactly 20,000 tickets. And you need to make it good that somebody, if somebody wants to copy it, it will make it difficult for that person to be able to do that. And you need to put up measures, security measures that can avert that. You see, even when the stadium was getting full, you should be able to know that this thing is getting full. Now we have to stop people. You should be able to do that. But all of that has not been done. But then, you know, can we imagine there are some dignitaries there, senior government officials sitting down there, and nobody was saying anything. You know, that is very, very sad in our country.
I just want to, reiterate on what Essa and Vicente said. To me, I think the Ministry of Youth and Sport should definitely have asked the Gambia Football Federation to explain what is responsible for this overcrowding. They shouldn't wait for the GFF to send them a report through the National Sports Council, because it's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. So someone should really have called, called on the GFF to say, come on, I need an explanation as to this, as to why this happened. And the minister was sitting there throughout. The vice president was sitting there throughout. At some point, they have to move him to the lounge to go and sit there while they negotiate for the Algerians to accept to come and play. So, like Essa said, the police, the ministry, but I personally call on the ministry, urge the ministry, come on, to call on the GFF and ask, explain what led to these circumstances. But again, Vicente said, the people that make up the constituted panel, we expect a lot from them. At the end of the day, I only hope that when the report is out, people will be found wanting. But if people are not found wanting, it's a waste of resources. And we'll talk about it. You know, because you cannot constitute a panel only to come out to say, well, we couldn't find any culprit. That's going to be a disaster. You constitute a panel because you are sure that someone somewhere actually did not do his job or actually cheated us. And at the end of the day, the investigative panel should come up with something that will be understandable, accepted by me, by everyone, because I was a victim. I had to run from one gate to another twice to be able to enter. As I spoke about the stadium asking the GFF, come on, the stadium manager is a sitting member of the Gambian Football Federation executive. So is he going to ask himself those questions? No way.
Vicente, finally, time is already just out. Finally, you come.
Well, for me, for the Gambia, our homeland, for the Gambia ever true, let's do not only what is right, but do the right thing. Let's know that today, occupying that office, tomorrow somebody will be sitting there. And whatever you may be bearing in that office will be unearthed tomorrow, because people will no longer accept business as usual. It is high time we did something for this country to be where it is supposed to be. We've got talent abound. Let's give the young ones the opportunity to showcase what they have, so that we can harness not only health, but wealth, foreign exchange, and also development and employment for our young ones.
Well, gentlemen, I have to thank you enough for accepting my invitation here today at iAfrica Sports Tonight. Well, our beautiful viewers, wherever you might be watching us from, to be part of this show next time, you can just send us your text on WhatsApp on 3494897 to be part of this show. The next time we have our sitting here, and probably you could also send in your contributions on iAfrica TV Sports. Right about now, we have to sign out until we come your way by next week. I am Sajo Sambu. I've been your host. Bye.
Il faut travail, beaucoup travail, toujours travail, li baax ci réew mi.
ay lii lu mu doon fii ñàpp sànni seen nguur gu bana tax réew mi xiiboon du li ngeen diggee woon du li ngeen fi waxoon ay ana suñu koom-koom lii lu mu doon ñun dañoo sonn seen nguur gu bana tax réew mi xiiboon du li ngeen diggee woon du li ngeen fi waxoon ay ana suñu koom-koom
dëkk baa ngi tooy ba inondé ci lim lëndëm ak wóora di askan wi di jooy ndax jaaxle ñàkk dërëm ak wéra di nga dëkkee tukki dem ak a dikk doo toog ni ko tëra di sa nguur a bëri sikk ak i jëwriñ yu xamadi yaay faral di folli di teg di bumi weer bu nekk remaniement bu bees ni yëre bu ñuy summi yaay wax di weddi di jël di bàyyi te kenn du ne du nii ku lay jéema weddi takk der di jàpp landu lii xanaa gi soone ñi la wër ñoo gën a foqale bukki dañoo xiif ba bu ñuy lekk ginaar sax duñ ko suqi mais nag doo yàlla ndax munoo fekke bëccëg fekke guddi njiit bu bon ni bañ bu yàqu li ciy pexe mooy buddi mooy tul ñu mujj ak yow ni waa Tunisie mujj ak Ben Ali wàcc si tali bi génne la palais bi nga daal di lalli la foule folle personne ne peut arrêter sa folie su fekkee ne fenn moo la fal xamal ne dëgg lay folli
lii lu mu doon fii ñàpp sonn seen nguur gu bon a tax réew mi xiiboon du li ngeen diggee woon du li ngeen fi waxoon ay ana suñu koom-koom lii lu mu doon ñun dañoo sonn seen nguur gu bon a tax réew mi xiiboon du li ngeen diggee woon du li ngeen fi waxoon ay ana suñu koom-koom
léegi ñëpp xam ne politique bi ay naxaate la luñ la waxati suba ba ngoon jàppal ne ay kàcc la si say neuf ñëpp yam bu ñu faloo rek fàtte la ni oto bu paan boo ko poussé bu tàkkee wàcc la ku ci fallu soppi doxalin foog ne yegg na fàtte fi mu jógee ak li mu diggee ndax léegi tedd na rey kollu ni bul fokkin di wane ne regg na toppatootul sax ndax xolu askan mi sedd na sëriñ si moom mel na ne yëgul ne dëkk bi metti na fayul ndox fayul courant ñàkkul dépense te matle na nguur gi di ko féexal mu daal di gëmm ni gumba dootu ñu nangu mu ñuy fooxal ñu ne cell ni muuma li muy digle du sharia du farata du sunna diine jële mbubboo ak di xëccoo alalu àdduna meeting la gën a farataal waraate àjjuma nañ waxante dëgg bàyyi masla moo ñuy génne ci musiba
lii lu mu doon fii ñàpp sonn seen nguur gu bon a tax réew mi xiiboon du li ngeen diggee woon du li ngeen fi waxoon ay ana suñu koom-koom lii lu mu doon ñun dañoo sonn seen nguur gu bon a tax réew mi xiiboon du li ngeen diggee woon woon du li ngeen fi waxoon ay 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 ana suñu koom-koom ku ci manti falu rek soppaliku du fàttaliku li tax mu falu ku ci manti bakku rek nga daal di nangu foog ni waaje fi gën ay kii la wala kee la ana kii tane sa morom kun ci